This is going to be a how-to video on replacing a front wheel hub assembly on a 2016 Ford Transit 350. The reason I'm replacing this one is because the bearing is bad. As you're driving, you can hear it. There's a little bit of a roar, and the faster you go, the louder it gets. So I'm gonna remove it, and I'm gonna go step by step. So I'm probably gonna be hopping around. So now, after I remove the hubcap cover, I'm gonna remove these lug nuts. These lug nuts are 21 millimeter. So I'm gonna be pausing and jumping back in before every step. Okay, so naturally, what you want to do is essentially you're going to be removing anything that is attached to this hub. Essentially, we're going to end up removing any electrical connections. So here is a wheel speed sensor connector. When you replace it with the new one, you can see that, but when you replace it with the new one, the new hub, you're going to end up having to probably put that into the new hub, or maybe not. Well, actually it could be. So I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Anything that used to be on the old one needs to be on the new one. Also have to remove the bracket on the caliper here. Let's remove the caliper bracket. I believe back there it is. Let me see. Let me test my theory here. Also a 21 millimeter socket or bolt. So using a 21 millimeter socket or wrench, you want to remove those. Okay. So here I go. If anything else I need to explain, I will explain as I figure this out, because I have never done this one before. So every vehicle is a little bit different. It's not the same. So I've done plenty of hubs, just not on this car. So we'll see. Okay, so I went ahead and removed the caliper and bracket and everything. As you can see, is two big bolts that hold it in. 21 millimeters. Now it looks like I have to remove these 5 13 millimeter bolts in the front here, and I turned the wheel a little bit so I can get access to those a little bit easier. There's a cable that I disconnected. I'm not entirely sure and I needed to do that, but this is kind of like a real rough video about how to do it. So I'm learning as I go along, and I'm just gonna take you with me, and I will correct whatever it is that I thought it was gonna be and it's not. But you can hear that bearing. It's very loud. So there's a new one. This is where the lug. These are the lug studs. So this is going to be on the outside. So I believe I have to remove this plate here. But we shall see how it goes. And I'll update it in a minute. So I went ahead and removed the hub already. It's out. The way it works out is that you don't have to remove any of this stuff as I first thought, but you do have to remove the caliper. So then the rotor is free. Initially you don't have to remove these hex 5 of these bolts that it takes. These connect the hub, the wheel bearing to the, and the hub to the rotor. So I can rotate this out of there. Okay. This is the rotor. There's the hub. So you see these 4 holes here, 5 holes. Those are the ones that are bolted down. These T50 bolts are the ones that go into here. So the order you want to do it in, you want to remove the T50 first, and that'll release the entire rotor and hub together. So it's these holes here. So what these would look like, as you saw earlier in the video, these are in there, and so then these you leave alone. You leave them alone. You want to put a long T50 like I have here. I believe I got this one at it's a Duralast, so I got it at AutoZone T50, but it's pretty long. It's like a good maybe 3 inches or so, 3.5 or so, and it goes into that hole there. And you're able to remove them from that. So that's what these guys are. So once you do that, this entire assembly is going to come out with as one big piece. Then after you have it on the floor, then you remove these. And once you remove these, you're able to separate. Once you remove those 13mm hexes, then that's how they come apart. And then installing it is in reverse. Put this guy, the new one of these, new hub assembly, put it on there, bolt it down, and then put the entire assembly back onto the knuckle. So yeah, maybe I'll show how to do the going back on, but now I have the wrong part. They gave me the wrong part, so I have to wait for the right part, but that's how you do it. And sorry it's all fragmented and there's probably a bunch of weird skipping, but essentially that's it. The meat and potatoes of it is removing these guys first, which is the T50, and then removing the 13 mils. But first that guy has to come out, and you want to suspend that. I put on top of the tire so it won't put any stress on that hydraulic line there, that brake line. So that's all she wrote. So now what we want to do is line these up so you can start putting the 13mm sockets in, or not sockets, 13mm bolts in there. So if you do it on a flat surface, the hub is actually a little bit longer, so it'll probably be lifted up off of the rotor a bit. You might have to maybe put the rotor between 2 blocks of wood or something, so you can do that. And then the hub, the bearing part of the hub, which is back here, dangle in between, so then that way it'll be fully seated. But it looks like I'm able to grab a few threads here, so now I'm just gonna hit them with my little impact driver here real quick. I'm gonna put this one on a slower, weaker setting because it's a pretty strong tool, so probably put it on the second setting, and I'm gonna drive them in real good with my impact wrench, and I'll get back to you once I do that so I can go to the next step. Okay, so these have been driven in like a star pattern because there's 5 of them. So you do one, you skip one, you do one, you skip one, you do one, you skip one. Eventually you will get all of them. So make sure you torque them all evenly. Once that's in, I go ahead and try to put the assembly in here in place so you can slide in the Torx. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so now it's in. now it's a lot smoother. So you just gotta line up those. It's torqued T50. There's also 5 of them, so you want to do the star pattern also. One here, one here, one here, one here, one here, and you want to torque them down. I'm not really sure what the torque spec is, but I just do it nice and tight. So yeah, and as you see, it's real smooth. No more noise. The other one had a really bad bearing sound. It would just get really loud. So now I just put that guy back on, and that's it. It's very easy. So hopefully that helped. If you have any questions, or if you didn't understand anything due to my bouncing around on the video, let me know. Thanks.